All right, welcome back to the channel. Adrien Broner, the money man in the 140-pound division, is back. Let's talk about that and what Kevin Cunningham had to say about it, his trainer, in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. First things first, I like Adrien Broner. I think Adrien Broner is good for the sport of boxing. I think he is, in a lot of ways, a throwback fighter, and he's somebody that should be commended for his boxing career and not insulted for it like he is so often. Now, over the last, I guess maybe it was a month and a half, 2 months, Adrien Broner has been saying like, hey man, I want $10 million to come back and fight. I want $10 million to come back and fight. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to go platinum and I'm going to be a rap artist, right? And all that stuff was going around. But now Kevin Cunningham released some footage of Adrien Broner training and says, hey, the cash cow of the 140-pound division is back. And that's Adrien Broner. And dude, to tell you the truth, I'm very excited about it, man. But look, and I'm going to tell you why in this video, but before I do, hey, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. If you are subscribed, make sure that you hit the bell icon so that you can get all notifications. Also, thank you to everybody that is a member of the Patreon, everybody that's a member of the channel, and everybody that supports during the live streams that we do Monday through Friday in OG Boxing Talk. Adrien Broner has been taking a beating in the public eye for a while, but he is, and for good reason. You know, Adrien Broner popped up on the scene as, you know, an electrifying fighter at 130 pounds, at 135 pounds, right? It's hard, it may be hard to believe, but at one point in time, when he was the champion, one of the champions at 135 pounds, that Terrence Crawford was in that same weight division at the same time. And what they would say about Terrence Crawford was that after Adrien Broner leaves the division, then Terrence Crawford will be the top lightweight. So that tells you the amount of respect and the amount of energy that was behind Adrien Broner in the early portions of his career. But as Adrien Broner's fame increased, and as his fame increased, so did his weight. And I think he went, and I know he decided to go up to 147 pounds, right? Because he was going to be the next Floyd Mayweather Jr. The 147 pound was the big money division. And, so that's what he's going to do. But it really didn't pan out for him because, like you say, he's a smaller guy. He's a 135 pounder. So people started turning on him. He lost the Marcos Maidana fight, right? People made a big joke out of him after he lost the Marcos Maidana fight, which, by the way, man, we're going to do some glove conversations on OG Boxing Talk tomorrow. But, you learn. I just did a video about Austin Trout, and, I read the court's decision. And whenever you do that stuff, you really wind up learning and seeing a lot of stuff that goes on in the background of boxing. Same thing with this Tyson Fury glove thing and the fact that you can see knuckles in this guy's glove. When you walk backwards from somebody's whole hand showing in a glove and you walk back and you realize, you're like, you know what? They actually have rules in the state of Nevada that would allow for that to be legal. Even though that is absolutely positively against any concept of fair sportsmanship in the sport of boxing, that sanctioning body might actually consider that to be legal because of the distribution of the glove, of the padding of the gloves, right? So you learn these type of things. So with Adrien Broner, not a lot of people talked about with Marcos Maidana, the fact that Marcos Maidana was wearing the gloves against Adrien Broner that Floyd Mayweather Jr. refused to fight him in. But anyway, regardless, at that point in time, Adrien Broner's career started taking a little bit of dip. He's gone a periods of times with long period of time without actually having a win. But unlike other fighters, he continually fights top level guys. Adrien Broner has fought Manny Pacquiao. He's fought Adrian Granados. He has fought Mikey Garcia. He fought Marcus Maidana. He fought Sean Porter. I mean, There's very few people in the 147-pound division that have that level of who have taken that level of competition on, let alone being a guy that moved up from 130 pounds to 147 pounds to do it. So I say all that to say that I have an immense amount of respect for Adrien Broner as a fighter, because he is a fighter, dude, and he is willing to fight. He is willing to take on tough competition. And beyond that, he's a very, very charismatic guy, and he brings a lot of interest to the sport, which is why what Kevin Cunningham is saying about him at 140 pounds makes complete sense. And I'm hoping that is the case, that Adrien Broner goes to 140 pounds. And this is what I would like to see him him do at 140 pounds. I would like to see him fight nothing but cherry picks for 5-6 straight fights. I would rather see Adrien Broner go to 140 pounds and beat up guys that are 130 pounders moving up to 140 pounds that he will have absolutely no problem beating, right? And let him do that 3-4 times, get him some spectacular knockouts, right? Put some guy out there in front of him like a Miguel Mariaga. Let him have a Miguel Mariaga. You know what I mean? Let him have a Jason Sosa. Let Adrien Broner have not a Rocky Fielding. What's this guy? A Gary Cochran. Let him have a Gary Cochran or some fighter like that is not going to go the distance with Adrien Broner, right? And let him be built up the same way a lot of these other guys are being built up. Adrien Broner has, as far as I can see, look at, for example, excuse me, look at the fight, and I'm not crapping on Terrence Crawford, but look at the fighters that Terrence Crawford has fought, right? Last 5 fighters that Terrence Crawford has fought. He fought what was the last one? Egis Kalvanakis, Amir Khan, Jose Benavidez, Jeff Horn, Julius Ndungo. It's the last 5 guys that he's fought. Adrien Broner has fought Manny Pacquiao. He's fought Sean Porter. He's fought Jesse Vargas. He's fought Adrian Granados. I mean, it's like Adrien Broner, although he left, fought tougher competition than Terrence Crawford did. So it's no wonder why Terrence Crawford is undefeated and Adrien Broner might not be, right? Because now I know that Terrence Crawford is a better fighter, but I'm just saying, like, look at the level of competition that he's fighting. Or look at a Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia will fight top guys. He did fight Sean Porter. He did fight Keith Thurman. He is about to fight Errol Spence. But in the middle of all these fights, you get Adrian Granados. You get Brandon Bam Bam Rios. You get Ivan Redcash. You get that type of stuff. Adrien Broner, what's the softest touch Adrien Broner's had? Jesse Vargas? You know what I mean? Jesse Vargas? And this is a guy that's coming from 130 pounds. I absolutely positively believe that Adrien, now, as far as him being the cash cow at 140 pounds, that's without a doubt. That's without a doubt. Anybody that Adrien Broner fights is going to be a fight that is well attended, and it's going to be a fight that is going to be well viewed, no matter who he fights, especially if you allow the dude to start winning and start knocking people out. The level of competition for Adrien Broner has faced, now it's obvious why he's faced that level of competition, because he has such a big name and he's so well recognized, and he's a good fighter who can carry his own, right? And the guys that he's fighting, it makes the guys that he's fighting, it makes their fights big, right? Adrien Broner's the one that made the Sean Porter fight big. Adrien Broner's the one that made the Mikey Garcia fight big. He's the one that he may not be the one that made the Manny Pacquiao fight big, but the reason he was able to fight Manny Pacquiao was because he was a legitimate, well-known name, right? Let Adrien Broner get some soft touches, man. Let him get a shoot. Jorge Linares Jose Pedraza wants to go fight at 140 pounds. Let Adrien Broner beat up Jose Pedraza. You know what I mean? Let him fight somebody where Adrien Broner feels like he can let his hands go, because number one, he's not either fighting a guy with no padding on his knuckles, or he's not fighting a guy that is just significantly bigger than him, like Sean Porter. And even then, he was able to drop Sean Porter, man. I want to see Adrien Broner have an opportunity to shine. I think him coming back to boxing is a very good thing. You know, all is, in my opinion, all is forgiven and all is forgotten with all that other garbage about him, you know, all that other stuff that happens up outside the ring, because we are now seeing that there are situations in boxing, like the video I made earlier today about Austin Trout, where Liam Smith gets a shot at a title that Austin Trout should have gotten because of gamesmanship being played between Frank Warren and the WBO, right? So that's just one example that had to go all the way, that had to go to court, had to go to federal court in order for people to really see, you know, to get any visuals on what was taking place, right? So you know that there's a lot more of that happening in boxing. So to see a guy like Adrien Broner get his fair share, and I would just hope again that Al Heyman and the PBC would say, hey man, let's give Adrien Broner a bit of a break. Let this guy have some fights where we know he can win, get 4 or 5 things underneath, get 3 or 4 of these fights underneath his belt. And after he feels comfortable, he feels truly confident and all that, then let him take the bigger fight, right? Which will obviously be there for him because he's the only real name at 140, man. I don't want to see him jump in there with Regis Prograis right away and wind up being just a stepping stone for Regis Prograis to another title shot. You know what I mean? But anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.